that pit in your stomach you get when someone questions your prices, or when you finally muster up the courage to raise them by $10 and then you get that dreaded email or that DM or that passive aggressive comment that makes you spiral. Yeah, me too. So in this episode, I'm taking you behind the scenes to a moment in my career when I raised my haircut prices by just $10 and got a nasty little anonymous email about it. Spoiler, it hit me hard. Not just because of what it was said, but because of how it played into this old narrative that I was carrying. The one where being just a hairstylist meant I wasn't allowed to value myself or run a real business. So today I'm going to talk with you about the shame that creeps in when clients push back on our prices, why your self-worth has nothing to do with what someone else thinks you deserve to charge, and how to handle tough client conversations with empathy, confidence, and a whole lot of integrity. If you've ever felt like raising your prices or implementing a policy might cost you your entire career, or like standing up for yourself makes you a bad person, this one's for you. So grab your cozy socks, get under your favorite blanket, get your favorite drink, and let's dive in. Hey there, you just stumbled into the Anxious Creative Podcast, where overthinking turns into ahas, mess ups become magic, and anxious spirals, totally part of the process. I'm Dawn Bradley, your messy, imperfect host, here to help you, the recovering people pleaser, the perfectionist, to stop chasing the unachievable and start embracing the chaos. Spoiler alert, that's where the real magic happens anyway. So buckle up, friend, because we're about to have some laugh so hard till you cry moments, a few hard truths to help you grow, and naturally a little, or let's be honest, a lot, of oversharing. You ready? Let's dive in. I raised my prices $10 on my haircuts, and then I got this email from an anonymous person. At the time, my website had the ability, you could put your name, your email in, and then send a message. And the email that they put in said, not my real email at gmail.com. So it was an anonymous note from a client of mine saying that I can't believe that Dawn would raise her prices in this economy. Now, mind you, this was circa like 2017. My prices went up $10. They went on to say already her prices were on the high end as is, and now it's going to be uncomfortable for me. And I don't believe that she should also have the tip option. And it wasn't bullet points, but it was like this rattling off of like how I can't believe Dawn would give herself a raise in this economy when most of us are not getting raises. Also, I feel obligated to tip. I think she should take the tip option away. And then at the bottom of the email, they signed off saying, just want to start a conversation. Now, the hard thing about this, and I'm not going to lie, I got really defensive and upset at the time. Now, I couldn't respond to the person. They didn't put a real email, and I couldn't start a conversation. And it hurt and it stung and it made me frustrated at the person. But since then, I've been able to kind of pull back and go, what were they feeling? What were they not able to communicate? Why didn't they feel like they could compassionately show up? And the reason why is a lot of times people don't feel heard unless they get angry. And so now I have a very different perspective on this scenario, but it was a very uncomfortable time. I remember thinking like, do all my other clients think this? Is nobody speaking up? And then also this defensiveness of I wasn't necessarily giving myself a raise. Now, I think giving yourself a raise is important and you should absolutely do it from time to time, but I was frustrated that my client wasn't able to have the perspective of the costs of my business go up, the costs of my rent, the cost of my utilities, my bills, my supplies. Those things go up on me every year. And thus, I don't know, who am I? Why do I talk? That's not how I talk. But meaning that I need to adjust my prices so that I can just make the same amount. And I think this is one thing that I see creatives, service providers, hairstylists, beauty professionals not realizing is they feel guilty and bad raising their prices because they feel like they're directly taking money from the client, putting in their pocket. But if you're not keeping track or being aware of when prices are going up on you from your suppliers, then you're actually giving yourself a pay cut by not raising your prices. And this is something that like big businesses and big corporations obviously have people tracking. But when you're a solo entrepreneur, you're not necessarily, a lot of us creatives, we don't like to look at the business side of things. And so then when it's time to raise our prices, because we're like, I don't feel like I'm taking as much home, but we don't have a pulse on our numbers because numbers aren't our thing. And if we wanted to be a numbers person, we would have become an accountant. We feel bad and guilty. And this is where Rock Your Business, like I really break it down and make it easy for you to keep track of your business numbers without having to become this person and do this stuff. Because let's be honest, you didn't get into business to be quote unquote a business owner that crunches numbers all day. You got into business for yourself because you love what you do and you love caring for your clients and you love the control and the freedom and the flexibility that it provides. But somewhere along the line, you started to feel completely overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, like when clients push back, I just don't know how to deal with it. So I'd rather just cave and belly up. But then I like build this internal frustration and resentment, but I'm not a confrontational person. person. I don't like conflict, so I'm just going to avoid it. And then you get bitter and resentful. And then you start fantasizing about leaving your creative industry and going and getting a job in an office somewhere where, oh my gosh, I'm like getting so worked up saying this that my dog just walked into the room to make sure I'm okay. Hi, Louie. But the reality is, do you not relate to that? Where you're like, maybe this isn't worth it. I don't know. Like, I'm like so frustrated and like, how come nobody respects me and people walk all over me? And it's because you're not confident in how you can communicate with integrity, compassion, and clearness. And those are so important. And that's exactly what I teach my students inside of Rock Your Business, is not only the like step-by-step how to raise your prices, how to enforce policies, how to build your clientele, how to create more revenue, but also doing it all and implementing it all with kindness, compassion, and empathy, showing your clients you're not doing something to them or at them, but you're doing it for them. And that's the real beautiful thing, is I see these self-employed creatives that are all of a sudden developing this confidence that they never had and giving themselves this permission that they thought they had to get externally, giving it to themselves to be like, I can do this. I will do this. I am able to do this. And it's okay to do this. Even if someone misunderstands, even if someone misperceives, and even if someone pushes back, I know that what I'm doing is fair. I know that what I'm doing is with integrity, and I can do this and be proud of how I'm handling it, even if there's a possibility of conflict, confrontation, or pushback. I am so comfortable, confident, and full of integrity in this change and in this thing that if there is pushback, and pushback generally from a client, it's not conflict or confrontation, it's usually confusion. They don't know, lots of people don't necessarily know how to communicate well. And so they come at things aggressively because they're expecting a fight and they're almost creating it. And so having compassion for the person who's pushing back or inquiring, or understanding maybe they're not pushing back, maybe you're just insecure. And so you're filtering everything through the lens of insecurity. I remember, this is an example, if you've been around long enough, you've probably heard before. And if you're new, you're going to love this. The first time I charged someone over $500 for their hair, we talked about it in the consultation, and she agreed to it. And it was fair. It was like, this is going to take this much time. This is how intricate and detailed it is. This is how much products it's going to take. Like, I knew that charging over $500 was a fair price for the cost of the service. And then we finished the service. I went up, I gave her the debit machine, and I was nervous because I hadn't charged that much before. So even though I knew it was fair, it was still nerve-wracking because it was new territory. I was stepping into a new arena. And my client went, wow, I've never paid this much for my, oh, my dog. I don't know if you could, the mic pick that up. She went, wow, I've never spent this much on my hair before. And immediately my body's reaction went, I wanted to be like, bitch, you agreed. But I also am like I'm conflict avoidant and non-confrontational. And so like, as much as I wanted to be like, I was like frustrated in that same split second, I wanted to go belly up and take $40 off to be like, oh, you're right. But before I could say anything, because I took pause, she went on to say, but I've never loved my hair this much before. And I realized in that moment that like probably majority of the time that I think someone's being confrontational, or I think someone's being combative, or they're trying to have conflict, I'm actually hearing it with the ears of insecurity. I'm actually filtering it on a bias because I'm not feeling confident. And so when it comes to having confidence in your business and implementing change and dealing with uncomfortable client conversations, how often are they only uncomfortable because we're filtering and hearing things through the ears of insecurity? And that's where with my students, I really love to develop this confidence in them and going, what are the facts? Are they just making a statement? How can I hear things differently? I remember a client saying to me, like, must be nice to be able to travel as much as you do. And I wish I made as much money as you did. And I was at the time traveling a lot for my own personal education to help advance my career. And I got hurt feelings over it. I was like, does she not see that these aren't holidays? These aren't vacations. These are work trips. But what I've learned to do is just take it at face value, not filter it through the lens of feeling insecure. And so I went, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It is really awesome to be able to take these trips. And I shared this on an Instagram live recently, like if you sense that someone's being passive aggressive, because most humans don't know how to communicate clearly and effectively and without their own bias. If a client said to me now, must be nice to take all these trips, I wish I made as much money as you, and it's snarky, or I'm sensing it's snarky, I would just go, I'm just going to take it at face value. Thanks. It really is. I'm sensing there might be something underneath that you're trying to communicate. Am I missing something? And developing this curiosity. And so instead of making assumptions, developing a sense of curiosity can one, bring someone back to, was I being snarky? Was I being passive aggressive? And you invite them into this softness, and you can really deal with things better. And so know that I can't guarantee that a client won't push back, won't be confrontational, but I can help you. And this is the whole purpose of this podcast episode, is helping you develop this confidence and quiet compassion of being proud of how you deal with situations. So I want to talk about the first time I realized I was people pleasing in my business and how it was hurting me as an anxious creative person. And what it was is I had just recently realized, it was probably 2 years into being self-employed, that I was drowning in the work it took to run my business outside of being with my clients. And I didn't ever count the hours that I was working on my business, like booking people in or canceling appointments or moving things around or getting supplies and stocking my shelves. Like I never counted that as work hours. And then I started to get really tired and exhausted and realizing like I'm working 40 hours a week, if not more, with clients. And then I don't even know how many hours I'm working on other things. So I implemented online booking and I was getting all my clients to go online booking. And then I got this text this one morning from a new client. Don't know how they got and it said, "Hey Dawn, I got your number from your client." So one of my clients who had my personal number back when I used to book that way, had given her my number. She said, "I know you have online booking, but your client said that if I can't get in online, just to text you and you'd get me in sooner." And I was so annoyed. How dare my client give away my personal number when I had switched people all to online booking? And how dare this person who's never seen me before ask for an exception? I was like, I obviously didn't say anything because people pleaser. I was internally annoyed and frustrated. And I think I don't remember exactly how I handled it, but I'm willing to guess that at the time I went, "Yeah, of course, no problem. When do you want to get in?" And this internal bitterness and resentment and feeling taken advantage of, like, just slowly built inside me to the point of it coming out in ways that I didn't want it to come out. I would get snippy at clients. It was like you find like the straw that broke the camel's back. Is that the saying? I don't even know. And so I realized in that moment, my client who gave the personal number, they would go, "Dawn, I'm like trying to get in with you. I want to get in before XYZ, but there's nothing available online." And because I wanted to make people happy and because my sense of self-worth and self-value lied in how happy I could make other people be and how much I could appease other people, I just got myself distracted there. Just looked at something on my desk and started thinking about something else. I hope you relate to this. But I realized in that moment, so my client would be like, "Oh, I can't get it. I can't see anything online." And I'd look and I'd squeeze them in or I'd have something else. So what did I just teach them? There's no point in looking for an appointment online when you can just bypass it and text me. And so my frustration with that new client texting me wasn't a frustration with my new client. It wasn't frustration with the client who told her that. It was a frustration with myself that I wasn't respecting myself at all. And so know that generally when you're frustrated with someone else, there's a lack of a boundary. I was like trying to say, this is the way you're supposed to book. But then every time that they didn't, every time that they asked, I did an alternative route. So people don't listen to what you say. They listen to what you do. And I see so many people, always anxious creatives, that are wanting people to respect them so that they can respect themselves. And it doesn't work in that order. You have to respect yourself first before other people can respect you. You can't say, this is the way, like you can't late cancel. Or just so you know, if you late cancel, there will be a fee. And then when someone late cancels, you don't charge them. And then being frustrated that they didn't offer. You first have to be willing, especially as a business owner, to stand up and respect yourself. And so in that moment, I was like, I'm not frustrated with my client. I'm frustrated that I'm not following through on respecting myself and reminding people how to book. And so later on in my career, when I had moved cities and I had kind of recreated the same problem, when I stopped doing texting and started only doing online booking, I had to remind clients when they would text me, "Hey, can you book me in?" I'll be like, "Just want to remind you, I no longer book people in through text. If you're having a hard time with the online booking, let me know at your next appointment and I can walk you through exactly how to do it. But I just want to remind you, I'm no longer booking people in this way." And I had to be okay with the possibility of there being some gaps in my schedule, but I learned a really good way of pre-booking clients and letting my clients at their appointment have first access to my schedule beyond what was available online, so that there was a reward to them. And so my online booking ended up being just people who like last minute needed to get in, but majority of my clients pre-booked and I was booked solid months in advance. I'm going all over the place today, but I know you track because ADHD and the creative life. You got me? So I want to ask you, why do you think so many of us tie our worth or likability to how accommodating we can be for other people? What is the fear that you're feeling might happen? I always say I was so afraid that other people would confirm my worst fear, that I'm not worth it. I'm an imposter. And who was I to think that I could do this? That was the fear behind someone pushing back. If they push back against this thing, if we have an uncomfortable conversation, then they might expose that I'm a total fraud. I'm not qualified. I shouldn't be doing this. And who did I think I was opening up a business on my own or doing my own thing? It was like this deep-seated fear. I think of the 16 years into my career, someone's hair fried off, 10 minutes of clay lightener. If you're a hairstylist, you get this. Like, it didn't make sense. 10 minutes of clay lightener on their hair and it started bubbling. And I took that as like, clearly I faked my way through 16 years of this career. And this is the confirmation I've been looking for, that I suck, I'm not worth it, and I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not qualified. If you continue to look for the proof that you're not worth it, you will eventually find it. And you will use that as the ammunition to tell yourself, I should have never, who was I? Clearly I'm not cut out for it. 16 years of success and one client that I believed, this is proof that I suck, I'm not worth it. And everything else was fluke and luck and chance. And I don't want you to have to go through that. So think about this. What's the story you tell yourself when you imagine enforcing a boundary and saying no? What's the story? They're going to think I'm greedy, rude, not worth it, gouging them? Is that the story? And why is that belief there? And really take some time, maybe even pause this right now and think about it. Why do I believe that someone would think that? And there's been times in my life where I've done things without integrity. There's been times in my life, I remember, this is the weirdest story and I can't believe I'm admitting it loud. I think I was in grade 7 and I think I was like, is it called SRC? Student Representative Council. I was a president and there was some sort of contest. And I remember going around with 2 other people on the committee and we were tallying up the results to see which classroom, I can't remember the details of it, which classroom won. And I remember standing outside this one classroom and we I don't know if we didn't count something or we were like, that doesn't really count. Somehow we jigged the numbers. And looking back, obviously I remember this now as I'm retelling it. I don't remember the details, but somehow we cheated the results because we didn't think that they should win or something. I can't really remember with clarity. And then it came back to bite us in their ass and I had to come clean and realizing that I wasn't operating out of integrity. It wasn't honesty. I kind of flubbed the numbers based on feeling. Well, I can't remember the details of it, but it was something like they don't deserve it or that's not really fair. Or there was a begrudging not feeling like the odds were against us and we weren't winning. I don't really know exactly. And I don't remember if we made it so that our class could win. I don't remember those details. I just remember it not being completely honest what we did. And I think when those things come to light and when you realize you get called out and you get found out for not being honest, that's a really uncomfortable feeling. And then when you don't have confidence and trust that you're in your own business, fast forwarding, that you're worth it, or you don't know where your prices come from, or you're not really clear on your policies, it's a lot harder to communicate these things when someone pushes back. You're like, oh yeah, clearly I shouldn't be allowed to. I think of enforcing a cancellation policy and being feeling guilty. I'm charging someone for just not showing up. It's not like I'm losing money, but then getting clear on the business side of things and being I am losing money because every hour that I'm open, my business costs me money. Your rent spread across the hours that you work, you can figure out very quickly how much you pay for rent in every hour that you work. How much of every appointment that you take has to go towards your rent. You really have to think of it that way. And so when a client doesn't show up, it's not just you're not making money, it's that your next appointment, part of that money that is supposed to be profit and go to your paycheck has to now go to your rent. Every hour that you work costs you something. And this is what the metrics that matter system inside of Rock Your Business really teaches my students is it really simplifies everything. So you don't have to crunch a bunch of numbers or figure things out. It spits out the numbers for you to let you know what your break even per hour that you work is. And it's based off of your own personal hours. You get to pop in how many vacation weeks you want to take, how many hours a week, how many days a week you want to work. And then it makes it really cut and dry and simple for you so that you can have the awareness and the knowledge of what your business costs you so that when you implement a price increase, you know why you're implementing it. Have your prices gone up? Is this a pay raise or just a price increase? And you're allowed to give yourself a pay raise. When you're enforcing a policy, just so you know, my business costs me you don't have to give that number, but you have an awareness of my business costs me money. And when someone doesn't show up, I'm not able to pay my bills. But then the more confidence you have, the more awareness, the more compassion you can have when someone pushes back. Whoa, how come you're so expensive? Or must be nice to charge that much? Or I can't believe you charge that. You can have that, as long as you can keep your nervous system intact, which takes some training, and the stuff that I teach in Rock Your Business helps, as well as my retreats also. We really dive deep into that. But you can slow down your reaction and be less, you can respond versus react. And I always say, like, reactivity is like that nervous system jolt where you either get defensive, you get aggressive, or you belly up. But when you can slow it down and really hear what they're saying and take it at face value rather than taking it emotionally, and compassionately get curious if you misunderstand them, or can you explain that a little bit more with clarity, or can help me understand exactly what you're asking? When you can respond in that way, uncomfortable and confrontational client conversations aren't as scary. So I want you to ask yourself, how do you know when your nervous system is reacting to a past people-pleasing pattern? And what can you do in these moments to stay grounded? When you, instead of just a fear of confrontation, so you emotionally discount, or a fear of a client being upset, so you just don't say anything about your cancellation policy, what can you do instead to stay grounded and stay clear and compassionate without sacrificing yourself or your business and staying in integrity? And this is why the emotional intelligence strategies that I share in Rock Your Business are so helpful. The thing that makes like my education and my programs different is we really work on emotional intelligence and self-awareness, simplifying strategies at work, and staying consistent. Because if you don't have the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence to look at things beyond what they are, you will stay in fight or flight. You will stay dysregulated. You will stay in feeling like everyone disrespects you and everyone's out to get you. And I don't want you to stay there. So I want you to think about what could be your go-to script for handling tough conversations with empathy and confidence. And this is where my ease method that I teach really helps. We're being, oh my gosh, I'm like now all of a sudden in the moment trying to think of my ease method and blanking. Ease starts with empathizing, being appreciative of your clients for the A, and apologizing when necessary, being straightforward, and being earnest. I use this exact ease method, and there's a breakdown inside of Rock Your Business, exactly how empathize, appreciate, straightforward, and earnest in when I let go and fired a client. And then how do you prep emotionally before having a hard conversation with a client? This is one thing that I talk about where I'm like, I'm a big deal and I can do hard things. I'm going to be kind, compassionate, empathetic, showing my client I'm not doing something to them or at them, but I'm doing it for them. And I take a lot of deep breaths. And then I want you to really think about what's the difference between setting a boundary with love and setting it out of resentment or frustration, because intention really matters. And having a compassionate perspective can be felt. I want you to know that you can do this. And if you want to get my client convo mastery, which is over 50 scripts and templates of how to handle awkward and anxiety-inducing client conversations, I have a special deal for you. When you go to dawnbradley.com/convo, CONVO, you can get my client convo mastery templates for $10 only. This is over 50 scripts and templates of anxiety-inducing conversations that you've had with your clients and exactly how to handle them with compassion, integrity, and confidence, so that no longer do you have awkward client conversations, but you have confident, compassionate conversations and knowing exactly how to handle those uncomfortable confrontational moments. So again, dawnbradley.com/convo to get your special deal that is only available here on the podcast, $10 for my client convo mastery, which is over 50 scripts and templates, exactly how to confidently handle uncomfortable situations with your clients. Go grab it now. I want you to know that when you start to show up with confidence, compassion, and integrity in your communication, which takes practice, everything will change. People will come and meet you in that softness. The conflict, the confrontation won't seem as scary. I can't say it'll go away, but it won't be as scary. I just had a conversation with a student that I'm working with one-on-one right now, where she let me know she felt disappointed by something. And that was hard for me to hear. And we were both scared of a conflict, but I was like, how can I navigate this with integrity? And so I showed up and I said, you know what? I failed you and I messed up and I'm so sorry. My knee-jerk reaction, my initial reaction, wanted to get defensive and share with her like what was going on and why. And that's not helpful. And I wanted to empathize with her. I wanted to appreciate her sharing with me. I wanted to apologize for the part I played. And I was super straightforward. I was like, listen, I let you down. That's not good. I'm going to do better. And then I was earnest and sincere. And I said, listen, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to navigate this hard conversation. And it was like maybe 3 minutes of discomfort. And then we actually created a stronger bond. So I want you to know that these moments where someone pushes back or misunderstands or feels combative or conflictive is actually an opportunity inviting you into a moment to deal with things better than you have in the past, deal with them integrity, with compassion, and with confidence. And you can actually create a stronger bond with your clients and build even more trust, respect, loyalty, and authority from them. And I see so many people jumping ship of, I just want to fire them. I just want to get rid of them. I just want to avoid and get out of this uncomfortableness. But if you can learn to step into it, again, with confidence, compassion, and integrity, with what I teach inside of Rock Your Business obviously helps if you connect with the way I teach, then these uncomfortable moments are an invitation to deepen the relationship and the trust and the respect, the loyalty and the authority you have with your clients, which will make you so much more successful in the long haul. Ooh, okay, friends, deep breath. I hope this episode reminded you that you're not alone if you've ever felt the sting of client pushback or the fear of being too much just for running your business like a business. I know how scary it can feel to set boundaries, enforce policies, or raise your prices, especially when you've built your whole business around being the nice one, the flexible one, the of course I can squeeze you in one. But here's the truth. The version of you who can charge fairly, enforce with kindness, and show up with both compassion and confidence, they already exist. And I'm so damn proud of you for showing up for them today. And next week, ooh baby, next week's episode is a juicy one. We're diving into the real reason you feel guilty charging full price, especially with loyal clients you love. And how to finally raise your prices without the shame spiral. No more emotional discounting, no more shrinking, just clear, confident pricing and the energy of someone who owns their worth. So be sure to hit follow and subscribe. And if today's episode hit home, I'd love if you left a quick review or shared it with a fellow service provider who needs to hear this too. Until next time, stay weird, stay messy, and always stay unapologetically you.